It's almost time to go live. I'm already live today. Okay, here we go. Bit. And I have to. I think we're good. Can you hear me?
Indeed. Yeah.
Good, thank you. All right, guys. So that's it. Let's hit it. Let's see the number of participants. Let's do the drill. Where are you joining from? I am curious. Region or country? Where are you joining from? I'm gonna put myself raw. Mania. Let's enjoy a bit of crowd feeling here. Bucharest, Spain, India, France, Germany, Serbia, Denmark. Is that?
Yeah.
Amsterdam, Israel, Portugal, Swiss. Okay, Slovakia. Nice. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute all over the world? Nice. Wakanda. Come on. And he's from the future. All right, guys. So welcome to this discussion. Tanzania. Wow. Come on, Horatio. Sweden. So welcome to this discussion about feelings. This is going to be an awkward discussion. It's about the way that psychology influences the way we write code, the way we relate to code, the way we work together. It's going to be also about team build, about team working, about playing nice with each other and being empathetic. You will see. But first off, let's give a shout to join this community that we're growing over here with almost 8,500 members, the largest in the world, focused on how to write code so that no one wants to have your head. It's about clean code, it's about playing nice with each other, it's about architecture keeping code simple. And we meet online with these events that we do today. Also, trying each month, we also have guest speakers. So if you need a way to get visibility, reach out to me, and we could present what you learned from your experience. Good. Today we talk about this. Next off, we're going to be talking about the 3 laws of architecture in November. All right, so that's where the fun is. And there is a Zoom meeting over here in which there are 46 people and growing. And the Zoom meeting is always much more fun. So I'm going to just drop this link into YouTube channel in case you want to join. And yeah, that's it. Let's get going. As usual, if you have any question at any point in time or any thought, any story you want to share, don't hesitate to briefly share your ideas, and maybe others will reply to that. It's always very fun. All right, so I'm going to be splitting this presentation in 3 chapters, 3 areas. First of all, the things we do, something useful for developers, stuff more useful when you grow into a team lead, and stuff more useful for you when you become an architect and you start deciding about technical direction. All right. Yes, this is recorded and it was live streamed on YouTube, where it will remain recorded, so you can share this with whoever afterwards you want. Good. The first question: feeling unqualified for the task. How often that happens? Can I see a raise of hand in Zoom? You can use this reaction. Have you ever felt unqualified for the stuff you're tasked to do? Ever felt like, hey, they wanted to do stuff, you have no chance of it? You are definitely not up to that. Perfect. So it's everywhere. And what I find most fascinating is that the more you know, the more you feel this, the more you have this feeling. So now there is a glitch here. You might feel unqualified and have no idea and really have no idea. Like if you're just starting off the career, it might be the case. But it's confusing when others think of you that you're doing a great job, but you think of yourself as like, I'm definitely not up to it. This is something that is very common in our industry because of the madness of new technologies, paradigms, and stuff that is overwhelming us, right? For example, for next year, I will have to develop a training of how you can create a Spring MCP server for a client of mine, completely new stuff for me. There is a protocol of communication between an AI agent and a Spring backend, for example. Right? I am completely unaware what that awaits, and I'm going to have to read. So right now, I feel lost in that direction. Right? If you ask me in detail how to configure a Helm chart, again, I'm lost. I will openly admit I'm not comfortable in there. Right? And also, of course, never take the job descriptions for real. They will ask you to be experts in everything. You know the drill. It's just they dreaming unicorns, right? Don't buy them. Also, instant depression happens. You look at code written by Josh Long, written by, I don't know, maybe even Venkat, and you feel that your code sucks, right? But you don't see the dozens of hours that those speakers or those presenters took to clean up their code and to get it in the most. So don't compare yourself with what you see online. Neither on TikTok, neither on talks, right? TikToks. Also, you might be working in an environment which might not be welcoming for juniors. The new trend is to hire AI-empowered seniors and fire the juniors, or not hire them anymore, which is going to be. It's going to make it very hard for new people to join our industry, because companies start preferring a senior that can generate code and then correct it over a junior that spends days to write that code, which is, I believe that growing juniors is going to turn itself into a, how to phrase it, act of charity in 5 years. It's going to be like, hey, you are kind enough to train you if you join our company. Join us. But other people are the companies that are just going to hire already super professionals. Right? It's a trend. It's going to... Anyway. My name is Victor, 18 years of coding. I'm doing right now consultancy and trainings for different companies. I just finished a training just now, 10 minutes ago. I've been to a bunch of industries thanks to these companies, and I'm super, 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 super honored to have been talking to a lot of very bright people. That's the best part of my profession, basically, as a trainer. And I'm trying to compile the lessons I learned from these into educational talks I throw online, like this and many others. You can find online YouTube of my playlists, or a playlist of my talks with the stuff I extracted from my workshops. And with these talks with you guys also, I learned a lot of stuff from you. Good, and I have a community, this community that I told you about, and a cat, 2 kids, and a wife. Good. My father used to tell me that the more you know, the less you feel you know, and that's perfectly natural, because when you're beginning your profession, you do not know much, so therefore the contact surface with the unknown is limited. The more you know, the more you feel how less you know. It's very counterintuitive. But now, again, there are 2 directions in your career. You can turn yourself into the expert in one particular corner niche. You could become the next COBOL expert. All you ever have to know is COBOL. But that's comforting. You're going to have a hard time finding jobs, but you're going to have a big salary. So it's guys, if you want to add something, add it in the chat, and I will address it. And but don't leave it. Don't let it sleep your mind. Right? If you want to add something, put 5 words in the chat, and I will come on that at the end. I want to finish this discussion here. So the more you know, the less you're going to be exposed to stuff that you don't know. Right? Of course. I didn't even know what MCP is since 3 months ago, for example. So imposter syndrome is there. You should never think more of you than your skills are, and that's basically a life lesson, right? Be humble, right? Be humble, know your limits, admit your limits, celebrate small victories, go out with friends. This is sustainable. This is very sustainable. To get social contact is always fixing anxiety, and also try to share your knowledge. The more you share your knowledge, good. The more you share your knowledge, the more you see where your flaws, where your cracks in your knowledge are, and you're going to patch those, learn more about those little things you didn't master yet, and the more it will reinforce your confidence, huh? Because you can explain others, and it's also kind of a social contact to explain. So talking so if you want to get over your anxiety or imposter syndrome, grab the next guy they hire, coach him. Coach him 1 hour a day, or maybe, I don't know, 4 hours a week. Coach him, ask him what he's doing, how you can help him or her, right? The more you share, the more you understand. Exactly. The best way to turn into a senior, exactly, Alexandra, is to teach the others, right? Good. Now, there is a comment in YouTube, hey, what about AI-empowered juniors that ship code they can't maintain? Good luck. Better to be a specialist or a generalist, comes another question. Haha. The entire industry with years requires more generalists than specialists. You don't have to know, you don't have to understand what this does anymore. Right, Kobol? You don't have to understand what this is. You don't have to understand what the buffer overflow is. That was C stuff, long gone for many of us. Java and the higher level languages, anything you're working on, Python, anything, is gonna, in the frameworks we're using, is turning us into generalists because they solve a lot of stuff for us. So generalists, there will be a higher demand for generalists, but there will be also a higher demand for specialists to fix over the generalists which are unaware of how the frameworks work. So AI is not gonna hurt us, it's only gonna help us more. We're gonna make IT accessible to more domains, but that's not good. Imposter the other way around. I'm doing a good job from a technical perspective, but I'm being seen as bad. So backwards. Can you be a highly excellent technical guy, but from the business, they think of you as being that geek in the corner? I'm sorry to say that to you, but you're guilty as charged. You should be always open to, you always work on your communication skills with the business, grow that will always be useful. No matter what vibe coding we're gonna do 10 years from now, you will still gonna have to understand what the hell does the user want. Yeah, quicksort. Who needs quicksorting today? Business comes to you, say, hey, we must abandon this feature you've been working for past 3 months. This feature, this prototype you grew so in love with, and you feel like crap because you've worked so much and hard on it. There are emotions, brains, time, energy that you think, that you feel it's syncing with that. Right? It's very hard. We always take it very hard. The best of us take it very hard because we grow attached to the creation that we, yeah? It's called sunk cost fallacy in business. Feeling sorry to let go. More stories. A company I know hired C level, CTO or something, hired it for 3 months just to fire 200 people, after which the CTO moved to another company to fire their 200 more people. It's so hard to let go sometimes, and the business priorities change, and yeah, it's really brutal. With AI, we need to figure out more how to communicate. Yeah. So the problem is that you grow in love with the technical thing you're doing, right, Dan? And then the business says, hey, the priorities shifted, we need to go south, and you feel sorry of letting go. The solution to that is grow more in love and focus more on solving the business problem. And it's hard, it's freaking hard, because at first, so many things, so many technologies bombard you that you have a hard time really understanding what the hell you're writing in there. And then at some point, you need to get beyond that technicality and start looking in the problem in the real world, right? You have to look into the real world to understand what the problem is. If you grow attached to problem solving, not coding, not typing, you will have a job 15 years from now, 20 years from now, for sure. Right? Yeah, the resume, hire to fire. Okay, so fall in love with solving, not with typing, right? Oh, fun moment in time. In the life of a developer, usually a junior or mid-junior, you're gonna touch on some code, and they were gonna tell you, hey, don't you know you're changing Darian's code? And you didn't met Darian yet. Darian. So, fun moment. This is called private code ownership. it can be seen. People could think of Darian as considering himself superior. He very often is, from a technical perspective, right, Dan? Now Dan is the exponent of technical expertise, so he could be very, very strong in technical skills, but not say socially. This guy can poison the feeling of the team, the relationship, right? Right. So keep it simple for every junior. Sometimes Darian is really so smart and is passionate about reactive streams, monads. He's talking about stuff you never understood before, right? And he can write code that no one can maintain, right? So one more hint, guys. If you want me to read your message, keep it like 20 words. Otherwise, it's hard to read while. So you need to keep this code as simple as for every junior in the team. Right? Oh, Dan, I read yours. I have another discussion for that thing. I call it the YOLO developer. The YOLO developer that writes unmaintainable code because the business wants you to fix SAP, their requirements, and then this guy is going to be king in that company. The guy living by this mantra, you only live once, après moi le déluge. This guy doesn't write tests. Why? Ship it. I don't write tests, I ask QA. I don't always test my code, but when I do it in production. Beautiful. This guy, again, and it's very depressing to see business in love with this guy. This can, again, hurt the feeling in the team. Business might love him, especially if business is non-technical or far. If business didn't understand the species of software engineering, then they can't fall into this trap, right? This, of course, is not sustainable, right? No sooner. This is damaging the team spirit. This is damaging the product on the long run. But some naive business might fall for this trick, right? Be careful. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you might want to be in that mindset while you are in the MVP scenario, in the MVP startup scenario. But as soon as you go from startup to maintaining, you need to shift perspective. Fire this guy. Don't fire them. Move them to other challenges. And also, it's a matter of trust. Darian doesn't trust us. Leibniz monads. Darian might not trust us. So that can be the case. Sometimes Darian is in another country. Is the old guy in the team that is there for 15 years and you're the newcomer. You know what helps? Pair programming with the guy, doing close code reviews, doing ensemble mob program sessions. It may be flying to Darian, sitting with Darian to code together, to bond in a sense, right? Because sometimes people that have very high technical expertise have a problem relating to people. Asperger style, I don't know. It's difficult. It's brain-wise, you can't be strong on communication, social, and technicalities. It's freaking insane, right? Good. Now, someone submits you a PR like this in Java. Oh God, this is Java. Now, you might recognize here the Alman style of putting parentheses. C++ developers in the house could feel at home. Java developers probably right now are... Nope, this is not right. And indeed, this has to do with the mental load of you recognizing the code. Your brain grows to pattern match. I was unable to read the code of two of my clients. Java, looking like this. I was like, I can't do it. I can't do this. It's too much. Every single 2 lines, my brain panicked. What is the base? What happens, huh? So yeah, you have check style, of course. I'm not saying you should tolerate that, no. But I'm saying that sometimes you might fall into heated arguments. You lose a lot of time. You should have a check style, uniform style, of course. But for such silly, maybe the parentheses put here could be indeed, but the space. Would you argue about the space for an hour? Would you argue with your colleague that you don't want them to do list size equal 0? that you want to do them instead, list is empty. Would you fight them and have heated debates about this? Would you start talking about mental tokens? By the way, I am in favor of this approach. Would you lose a friend over this? Would you lose a friend? Would you lose a friend? Forcing them to write is empty. So this can turn into a fight. And the funny thing is that this is really not the most important thing in the code. This is not what makes your code maintainable on the long run. Right? That's why I'm divorced. God, don't say that, Amber. Right? Huge part of maturing as a dev is to get over this. Use is spotless. There are guys. My point here is that I don't want you to start going into opinionated arguments with colleagues and losing the spirit of the team just because you have other feelings. And I want you to realize that the most simple problem is the more let's say, how to phrase it, the more novice developers can have an opinion about. The anecdote is that they've decided where to place the nuclear power plant in 3 minutes, but they argued for 45 where to put the bikes shed. It's an anecdote, never happened, but the thing is, the simpler the topic, the more opinions, right? Guys, do you sell pairing to a business owner who is already in love with a YOLO developer? Ooh la la, that's a good one. How do you sell pair programming to a business guy or to a business person who's in love with this guy? How do you sell that? Wow, that's a fun question. How do you convince business that this is not going to end well? How do you convince business what bus factor means? That if, God forbid, this guy leaves for holidays or a bus runs over him, his business is in deep shit. How do you convince them? You should have someone in the business side mature enough to realize this guy grows into a liability for you. Huh? Good discussion, Monique. Very nice discussion. It's a month. It's a lobby. And do use ChatGPT when you phrase your emails or your do advice. Yeah. Tell business you want to learn from that YOLO person. You're evil, Paula. Tell business you want to learn from that YOLO person. What can the YOLO person teach you? Shit. I'm sorry. To leave you to teach you how to carpe diem. What will be interesting? My God. Guys. So let's get back on track. My point is here just the Parkinson's law of triviality. We keep arguing about the same thing. Don't spend too much time on that, but do enforce a homogeneous, consistent, impeccable, spotless coding style. It is the broken windows theory. Uncle Bob was talking about this 20 years ago in his clean code book. He was saying that his analogy, I think, was with drunk sailors. If you see code written like crap with inconsistent coding styles and formatting, you're gonna feel like working on an abandoned building. This experiment supposedly happened in the 1980s. The experiment was with a car, and they smashed the windows of that car. And because the smashed window in a car means abandonment, that car was ravaged in a matter of hours. Before that, it was sitting there with no problem. But as soon as people see abandonment, they start smashing more windows, start doing graffitis, move in, homeless people move in. All sorts of crime happens if you see abandonment. So basically, it's all about feeling guilty. If you see impeccable code base, you won't be the guy that ruins that code, won't you? You don't want to be that guy that people are pointing, look, that guy put the spaces in between the four. You will feel, yeah. That's a very powerful thing too. A good friend of mine, Rick Ocean works for the platform team for one of my top clients, and for Picnic, and he took this very serious, and he has this. We had him invited last time. He talked about these Refactor rules that he enforced to make the code consistent in a single style. It's that feeling of having the homogeneous It is the feeling, the philosophy of the Golang, which started off with the attempt to have a single way to fix a certain problem, to avoid heterogeneity and focus your brain not on the many ways you can test the collection is empty, but rather on the problem to solve. This is deep. This is deep. You want to reduce the accidental mental overhead on your team and focus them on what matters. Right? This is fun. Now, there was this story with two people going to the forest chopping wood. And every time one of the guys, Jack, goes off and is out of the forest for 1 hour, about lunch. And despite the fact he misses 1 hour of work, he every day chops more wood than his friend. And his friend just can't take it anymore, goes to Jack and asks, hey, Jack, what the heck you're doing that hour? And how come you always cut more wood than I do? I want to test you guys. Do you know what Jack was doing that hour? Anyone knows? Anyone knows? Yeah.
He was sharpening the axe.
Sharpening the axe, thank you. Sharpening the axe, exactly. The guy was just going home, right, sharpening. But that means it's very deep. It has to do also with a fun book I would recommend you read. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But put it a bit more, to expand it a bit more on this. It doesn't really mean only sharpening your tool, but just relaxing, disconnecting from the chopping, from the bug fixing, right? So my advice, if you have a chance to take not 3 days of holiday, 1 week or 2 weeks, try it once. Try to take 2 weeks off, not one. That's me, myself. It takes me 3 days to cool down after my normal work style until I fully dive into the vacation. Right? When you come back after 2 weeks, it's a completely different feeling than when you come back after 1 week for me. Right? Because I got to disconnect finally, right? So there were axes. So the point is, relax and also sharpen. Many businesses have realized this. Pragmatic Programmer, you mentioned as well the book, very good book, and Slack book about psychology, about the need of having a break, official time to do nothing in highly knowledge-intensive and creative domains. My wife is a medic, and medics have, or can basically claim, how to phrase it, get 3 days to get continuous learning, something like that is called in Romanian. It's recognized in the industry that you have to have time to dedicate just to improve, right? Many companies that I work with have given their employees the learning day, but they give it like once a month, once a quarter, maybe even once a sprint if you're on Google. And that learning day, unfortunately, I hear that my trainees, my people, they use it to fix more bugs. They gave you that day to grow, to automate whatever breaks your flow, to fill that crack you had in your knowledge. You realize that when explaining to the new hire, you didn't really got how proxies work in Spring. You really didn't realize how OpenTelemetry agent, what does it do for you? And then you spend time just studying that, right? To improve your flow. So whenever you spend your learning day fixing bugs, you are stealing money from your boss. They gave you this day, if you have it, to get better. So that's your life. You get a job, despite the unreachable job description, you still got hired. Amazing. You have only 1/4 of those skills, but they still hired you. Fantastic. And then you have a task to do. And that's a problem for many of my Romanian clients, Eastern Europe clients. People come to the interview asking, they do a task from A to B. They don't want to speak JavaScript. They say no to Sukili. They don't want to see CSS in their lives. And they don't want to do Jenkins files, Helm charts, and anything related to, they just want to do Java. That's the typical requirement of a junior, because they want to be from here to there. Now, the fastest you get them out of that mindset, the fastest you can increase their competence in that core specialty, the fastest they will become engineers that are going to be problem solvers. No, they didn't give me access to the learning platforms. They told me, so I do workshops. Most of the things you hear today came straight from discussions I had in clean code and architecture trainings. Clean code, because it's always about psychology, time, communication, people, politics, and architecture, because the more senior you grow, the more your focus moves on the real problem and try to solve this organizational, also psychology. So no, but they told me in the clean code workshops, oh, we have a learning day. The other people in the group were like, we do? Yes. According to that directive mail you didn't read, we can claim one learning day per month to do whatever we want. Oh, we didn't know that. Yeah, but we are still using that to fix more bugs. Great. Plural site, yeah, plural site. But the thing with plural site and self-paced is that they have a, how to phrase it, not retention, it's called usage ratio of 5%. Multiple companies have reported that they bought Pluralsight, whatever, Udemy, and their employees use those licenses 5% of what was expected. It's hard. Some courses are very cool, I agree. Some people are made so in such a way that they are hungry to learn, but others are just comfortable in their code katas, code chakras. What is a chakra? Explain. Nice. So, and then you get promoted, right? So you get past this problem solving and you get a lead. You turn into a technical lead. Oh my God. So from now on, part of this discussion about leading people, formally or informally, very important. Leading is hard. People are difficult. People are very difficult. Each one has its own things. You have to use different gloves for a different person. Have to approach. No? It's very difficult. I'll tell you. I've been the tech lead, and I didn't know what was coming to me. Do you want a promotion? Yes, I do. That was not a promotion. That was not a promotion. They lied to me. That was the shift of career. Good. You're going to have to attend meetings. You're going to have to be interrupted and be willing and be looking to be interrupted. You're going to do your stuff. Some junior, someone in your team. Again, you don't need to be officially the lead, the senior of the team. You could just be the senior in the team, the guy that informally everyone goes to ask. You're going to have to face interruption. You're going to have meetings, attend meetings instead of others, right? You must take responsibility in trouble, but give away all the credit when something goes well, right? So it's going to be a completely different, right? Now, everyone can become a lead. Some people won't, some people shouldn't. I'm not sure if I should have, but I went like, yeah, I want to be a lead, yeah. Yeah, really, really tough. You can also overdo it. My second tech lead, let's not say that. Anyway, went too far and snapped. Went too far a bit. All right. So no matter what the problem seems to be at first, it's always a people problem. That's what I realized after 15 years of, 10 years of consultancy and full-time 8 years trainings, right? If I dig more, every time I find the same thing. There's a political, organizational, communication, distrust, something lurking in the shadow, right? So the point is that you should realize that when you grow into a tech lead, you are not leading them towards the enemy. You are instead responsible for the people. You are there to care for them. That you don't realize. You think that from senior to tech lead, they are gonna follow you. No, they're not. You're just gonna have to care for them. It's really strange, the perspective. You're gonna be the servant, not the leader. Had the workshop yesterday in class. 3 days, very long training. Usually I have 2 days. 3 days is exhausting, it's mentally draining. Last afternoon, I went downstairs to go to a shop, bought chocolate and some strawberry, something little, and I handed it to the guys. Like, I would have done that if I were like in the last hours of a release, people under stress, I would just, I don't know, order some pizza, some cola, something to have the moral. Right? You have to be servant of the. Right? If you become a lead thinking you'll have more control, you'll be disappointed. Thank you, Monique. It's like herding cats. I wouldn't put it like that. It's like caring for cats, not herding. Combine these sound effects. I don't have them combined. Yeah. One of the brightest, one of the, let's say, Aline. I told you, I'm lucky to have met a lot of very bright people in my career. And I met one guy called Aline once. Aline was in a company having some terrible code base, having classes of 35,000 lines of code. 35,000, you heard me right. And Aline was one of the reasons why people were still in that company. Aline had a way to approach everyone that was fantastic. So basically, when he reviewed some code and he called you over, he was waiting for you with your favorite tea. Have a look, have a seat. He was waiting for you before COVID with the code merged in his editor. He would just invite you to sit on an armchair next to him, and he would just tell you his opinion. But in a very warm and nice voice. You felt like every time you felt welcome, right? That's how a tech lead should. She was actually the senior, not really a tech lead, if I remember correctly. But everyone was super eager to get a review from Aline. You want to be that guy. He actually knew what everyone was, or some chocolate, some bonbons, whatever. If you want a healthy environment, right? So you could always go to Aline and ask questions, because asking questions is freaking hard in software. Yeah. Oh, Rinkevich, that's a tough question. How to motivate devs to write integration tests, not just unit tests. Show them that unit tests are crap. And despite 100% coverage, they can still slip bugs. I have other talks online about this, but coming back. Asking questions is hard in our profession, at least in my post-socialist country. They educate us with shame and guilt, we like to say. Technically, we almost feel like afraid to ask questions in school. I hope you are not living in such a country, but if you are, you're going to have a hard time asking questions, because you're going to immediately feel, what would they say of me if I ask a question? This is so disruptive. Yeah? This guy Aline working. My architect screamed at me when asked about some small thing, telling me he's not obliged to give me any justification. Wait 3 months. If in 3 months, this is delicate. If in 3 months you don't see any change, either you or them, leave. Who am I to disturb the elder, you might think, and sometimes for good reason. There could be this guy, of course, Aline was like the cornerstone of the entire company, really, for the huge product. And anyone approaching Aline, oh my God, knew that they have to spend like 15 minutes. Aline would always be kind, but they knew that if you approach Aline without Googling for half an hour, you're stealing time from other colleagues of yours who need him more, right? Right. So, and also sometimes very, very true. It's very, 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 very hard to freaking articulate what the problem is. And this is a story of my own. I was in IBM, and people from all over the projects came to me to ask stuff. And I tried desperately never to say no to any debate, to any call for help. So, but very often they called me in some meetings. I went to the meetings, and the guy were trying to articulate what the question, the problem was. And very often, halfway through the question, they were like, ah. And they found the answer themselves by just trying to explain what was wrong. So impressive. Like, I was just sitting there listening. And they were like, thank you, we got the point. We're welcome. And I was, the point is sometimes just asking your question. Now, guys, normally you should rehearse your question first, articulate it, right? But you should know that there is someone over there who's eager to answer to your question. So you should be safe to ask for help. You should be safe every time to say, I don't know, right? For this reason, there should be a policy to never ask a question by first sending a message of what the question is, and then decide if it's a question, if a call is needed. Very good one. Let me put that on the screen. There should be a policy that before calling someone and breaking their flow, freaking send a message, asynchronously, a mail or chat or Slack. Hey, by the time you write it, you already got. Very good. Sometimes I need another pair of ears because while explaining, thank you so much for contributing, guys, in Zoom. What question is? No, not this one. Sometimes I need another pair of ears because while explaining the problem, the solution appears. You are talking, and if you would just hear yourself, but you are sometimes so entrenched in the intricacies of your flow, requirement, politics, guilt, whatever legacy code, that you don't see the obvious thing. Exactly. Whenever someone is asking something me on Teams, I wait a while. Exactly. That's what I started doing myself. I just didn't listen the first 5 minutes. Doing my stuff. And at some point, they're like, oh, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, rubber duck. This is, if I'm asking a question about Java, this is my friend. Yes. Get a duck. Yeah, guys, it's funny, it's silly, but it works. Get a duck. Buy a chatbot, I don't know. Yeah, Slack plugin that automatically delays sending. Okay, got you know. So they could be always be able to tell I don't know, and you could be replying neither do I. Mohammed says, try to explain the problem to an LLM model without sending the prompt. You will get the solution. Haha, just typing in the chat. Nice. Yeah, chatbot could be, and we should open your eyes about some obvious thing you missed, for sure. For sure, yes. But let's find out. So you could say, hey, neither do I, but let's find out together. Let's Google together. And that's something we should be doing more. That's something we should be doing more. We should Google together more with the newcomers in the team. We should show them how we find an answer. And admit we don't know either. Admit that, hey, I'm also Googling or AIing, LLMing. Life, right? But then when I get an answer for LLM, I always reply immediately, are you sure? To increase the accuracy of the model. Think deeper. And the chat goes in deep mode. There are tricks. Yesterday I was teaching Spring to a group. And I at one point in the training, I went like, let me show you live. I went like, hey, did you know that I can change the log level of Spring framework dynamically? So change the log level of a Spring Boot application without restart. And then mysteriously, I added Bildung. Because Bildung has wonderful tutorials. First click, done. Right? You don't need to restart to lower the level of running Spring Boot. Technical step. But this act of how do I Google, right? What keywords I use? How do I filter the results, right? If I see a framework that has 10 stars on GitHub, I don't care about that. It's too little and so on. Good. Right. Right. Now, the most extreme thing I ever heard about this asking and talking together came from a CTO from Serbia. I wonder if he's in the call today. I learned a lot from this guy, and he told me that just after lunch, he just went to his people. He was a CTO, so he had multiple teams. He just went randomly to people and asked, can I help? Actively. So imagine the guy, the elder, comes to you, the junior, asking, hey, can I help in any way? Right? This had two purposes. First of all, to make everyone feel comfortable asking everyone. I mean, if the guru if the CTO comes to me to, you will be scared. Probably yes, but it's also hey, what's there, man? He was a funny guy. He made that clear for everyone. Very, very easygoing. Very, not a problem, right? And they also had, I think, in the morning they had like gym classes on Zoom, something to make it more, to break the ice between, right? Of course, his time was very precious, but it made this attitude that everyone can ask. And another company I worked with, I told you I've been to 150. I heard once about, they called it the Slack channel, but not Slack. It was in Teams. It was a meeting running all day. And every time someone had their brain dying, could join that Teams meeting to see other people hanging around whose brain was also dead. So it was like going for a coffee in the COVID times, right? Or now with remote working, a channel open for asking your opinions for anyone. It should be safe to ask for help, right? Because for any non-trivial problem, the first solution is always wrong. So you want to ask, but this particular realization that the naive solution is going to be wrong at first can get you into a bit of a depression because you just know you're going to screw it up. You know you're going to screw it. This is unrelated to this train of presentation, but I wanted to show you something in unit testing. One of the guys in the first, let's say, thought leaders group of software engineering, his name is Kent Beck. He had a wonderful, he called it, let's see if I find it fast, mantra, TDD. I'm not a religious guy. I do not believe that who doesn't do TDD is stupid, no. But what this guy, Kent Beck, thought of was very fun. He thought, make the tests pass, you're green. Make a mess while making your test pass. So then you can refactor safely once your tests go green. Don't try to make it work and make it clean in one go. Focus on making it do the right thing and then move to writing it the right way, right? Don't run after two rabbits, right? Again, a lot of psychology behind the scenes. So it's okay to screw it up if it's just temporarily until you go into the refactoring phase, right? Red, green, refactor mantra. Good old discussion. All right. So if you are terrified of failure, you're going to have a higher anxiety. You're not going to see the obvious solution. You're going to overthink, and give turns and turns and turns, postponing and delaying decisions. Agile tried to fix that with this idea of iterative releases, MVP, and working on that. So it should be safe to fail. Again, from Picnic, that's an ideology in that company that the CTO tries to make failures safe. And they build into blue-green deployments. They build into canary releases, emergency feature toggles, all sorts of tricks just to make it safer for you to fail. Failures are going to happen. It's just how much you invest preparing for them. It's a shift in perspective. So don't over-engineer and over-speculate about performance problems. Instead, expose more metrics, set alarms, detect early the problems if they occur. It's a shift in perspective. The ultimate goal, to make it more safe to fail so that people have more original, wild ideas. This is a culture thing in a company. It takes... someone drew on my 1 second. Please don't draw on my screen. Good. Now, now I'm drawing. Yes. Right, so that's the theory. Now the practice. This survey, we ran a survey to understand your feeling about stress at work. To ensure that no one remains stressed at work, we have made the difficult decision to part ways. Part ways with you means you're fired. Some people just don't get it. Yeah, the theory is that you want to, this is a real email from one of my clients. This is, yeah, you get the point. Stockholm, yay! Yeah. No, you're not strong enough for us, Raul. You are a weak person. God, how antisocial psychopath could you be? All right. Yeah. Stockholm syndrome, falling in love with your aggressor, sympathizing with your captor as a coping mechanism. I did a mistake when I was a young consultant many years ago. I approached companies, and sometimes even today I get carried away. Just today, I talked to some group, and I told them, hey, you know this thing called enterprise Java bullshit? It comes from beans, but I made fun. And then one of the guys in the group said, we are using it. Oh, shit. Big fail. Now, the problem is, if you are using some bad technology, legacy code, in order to get the emotional balance, you have to get accustomed and used and partially tolerate or maybe even like the code. So it's emotional balance, not to go mad, right? So you begin sympathizing with that terrible code base you have as a coping mechanism. You can't speak bad words about the code that you see. People in the room might be their authors 15 years ago, or at least they are so used to it that they might actually feel normal to scroll through methods of 300 lines of code, right? So you need to approach such situations very careful. The things that are completely back upside down, you hate your own code 3 weeks later, not 2 weeks back. But this guy, no, because they kept growing it with years, and usually such code base was started before there was mandatory code review, before Sonar was checking the code, and with little or no tests. So of course it grew into a mess. Now, the story is completely different if you inherit, if you take over some code which was written by someone else and it's in a terrible shape, and then the biggest problem in your team would be the moral, not to lose moral, not to give up trying to clean that madness. And in other words, look, maybe you are lucky and you hire this amazing guy, Spartacus, the refactoring hero. Maybe you just nailed it. You just hired the best refactoring guru you can ever find. That refactoring guy, wherever he goes, however, is so enthusiastic that he literally rewrites the code everywhere he goes. He never gives up. He fights and fights and fights, and he turns the code upside down. This is a delicate problem as a team lead. On one side, you want this guy's skills and moral and willing to change the status quo. On the other hand, the refactoring he writes over here is going to add to the, is going to make the code inconsistent. It's going to add to the team mental load. Because as a team lead, you want to make the code have appear like it was written by a single developer. But this guy makes it clear where he refactored. Let AI fix it. My dear friends in sorrow. Oh God, no. My dear friends in sorrow, you did study how AI has hallucinations about things he once dreamt about. Do not ever refactor using AI and push without having serious testing and doing mental, my God. Refactoring with AI is like looking at your code, going to sleep, next day without looking again, typing it again. Don't do it. Be very careful. You can have suggestions from AI of what refactoring to do next. That would be a good idea. Some AI agents like Juni, or they may be able to use some syntax-based refactoring tools. Yes, MCP from IntelliJ, but if you just throw some code in ChatGPT, don't expect it's going to come back impeccable. No. Tell that to them. Alexandra, someone has this company in which the business thinks you can just throw shit at LLM, and the LLM will get you back right code. You should Google. Okay, I'll show you in a second. You should Google one thing, guys. You should Google one thing. The principle garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. It's pretty old. It turns out that if you throw shitty code into an LLM, it's going to generate out shitty code. So if you start some code playing Java, result set, rs equals, connection, query, code that we stopped writing 15 years ago. If you start typing code like, if this is your code base and you ask AI to help you out, AI, true story, tested once, can generate code that does SQL equals select blah, 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 where ID or where name equals question mark plus, not question, plus HTTP request. You have in front of you the famous SQL injection. Attribute something, right? So basically, I'm trying to say that AI generated SQL injected code because the code that it saw in your project smelled like the early 2000s, and in early 2000s, this is how they were creating queries. In reality, in how many companies the code really feels as written by a single developer? A lot. The reality is that a lot of companies have code bases, especially microservice style. In a microservice, that microservice has a very consistent code style. Yes, a lot of companies have this. So you are missing off if you don't. So the point is, you want to do tiny changes applied everywhere consistently. The tools for this are two. I'm telling now the story of one of my favorite clients in eHealth. They did IntelliJ inspections. So for example, this for in Java can be replaced. And by the way, these tools only work with statically typed languages, Kotlin, Java, maybe C# to some extent. So basically what the trick is, there is a suggestion, collapse loop with stream soon, that you can apply on the entire project. And then you run that, and then boof, it's all over the place now using stream wherever possible. And the fun thing is that is 100% safe because it uses abstract syntax tree refactoring. It's not a hallucination, it's programmatic manipulation of the language syntax so it's not a dream. And this on steroids, it's open rewrite. Open rewrite doesn't require you to use IntelliJ, Eclipse, or even Java. It automated mass refactoring of source code in the projects. Big shout to this, very good tool. I think I talked about it, mentioned it last time in the last meeting for this community. Very good tool. You can just apply the fixes everywhere. So you want to preserve the moral of the team, but without giving up on tiny changes applied consistently. And I fell into all sorts of sidetracks, and I'm out of time, and I'm halfway. Tell you what, rather than pushing it more, I would stop here. Maybe we can turn this into a follow-up, and we will pick it up right from here. I'm gonna put it here, like pick up from here, right? Next time for European software crafters, for European software. I don't want to step on your personal time, and I also have my own personal time, so I have to leave. But let's see if there are any questions or debates next. What was happening next is a team, how to organize effective teams, and what are the biases that you can fall in as an architect. And let's turn this into another hour next time. Open Rewrite is bundled on latest IntelliJ, yet it comes bundled, but you can run it as a standalone tool. You don't have to have IntelliJ for that. Can a tool detect that someone wants to commit code without collapsing to Zoom? Yes. There are, look, I just asked this question to the creator, to one of the promoters, it's called developer advocate, I think. Open Rewrite embed in CI pipeline. You can actually have this embedded in your checks. So the Open Rewrite can check if there is any syntax deviation. Besides Sonar is one. So let's put a linters in general, they usually tap into the continuous integration. But once to commit code, it's before they commit. Your friend is going to be Git hooks. But it's a bit morally dubious if you want to block someone from pushing their code just because they didn't do some. That's too much for that particular change. So Git hooks can block a commit from server side, but it's a bit too much. Perhaps it's better to just have some CI static analysis. No? Like your friends, Sonar, whatever you're using, right? Linters you're using, Sonar. Kodana from IntelliJ, open rewrite, refaster style sheets from. All right, I remember Sonar didn't have a good name many years ago. Yes, it became the default. Hard to throw a number, but for 80% perhaps of my clients are using Sonar. Of course, with others. Maybe Sneak to do some security penetration. Maybe others are using, what was the name? No, but Sonar is by far the most used, at least for Java. For others, you have your own. You have PHP Stan if you're playing PHP. All sorts of linters, TS-lint, all sorts. Not stop pushing, but merging to release branch. You can have checks for quality, but be careful. Every time you prevent someone, look, let me debate on that a bit with Corina. So the question is not to really stop pushing, but merging. Can I stop bad code from coming in? Yes, you can, but it's important how you reject it. You should turn this into a learning opportunity somehow. You shouldn't be there like guarding the quality of the code. You should be there looking for opportunities to pair program with the guy to debate some stuff. That's your perspective, right? One day you may tell us how you lead with the interruptions as a tech lead. Well, the more experience you get with technicalities, the shorter amount of time it takes you to gain the focus. I remember myself, it took me like 15 minutes to actually dive into some code and fully understand it when I was junior, maybe even half an hour. Seeing a lot of code from different projects, in 2 minutes I'm there, maybe 5. I get the point, but that comes with just practicing. So, and also Pomodoro. You may want to have indeed not respond to interruptions instantaneously, but within 10-15 minutes. That could be an idea. So you park the interruptions for 10-15 minutes, perhaps. And there is also the counter idea, the 2 minutes rule. If it's a task that takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Don't add it to do. Say 5 minutes, some say 2 minutes, all sorts, right? Check marks. There are many. The older you are, the more you struggle with refocus. I should wait 5 more years. Who knows? Yeah. But the thing is that your brain is gonna develop pattern matching. You're gonna recognize code much faster, right? You're gonna build up, especially if you grow more experience in the same code base. You're gonna know stuff, right? You just have to sink in the code, to breathe in and out. Maybe do a chart of code, what codes, what. Some people are like visualizing a lot. Let's see, do I have here clearly? There was a plugin you can use. It's called, not diagrams. There was like, what was it? A plugin that was generating a visual call stack, like who calls what. I forgot what's the name for that. Anyway, visualize the code, right? If you are more geographic guy, use all tricks you can to draw little sketches of your architecture when you explain to someone new. Good. And everyone joining the team, they should you should pair program with them. Very important. Pair program with anyone joining the team to show them the way without waiting for them to submit outrageous or far-fetched code review pull requests or merge. Pair program with the guys for several sprints, maybe even months. Right? Yeah. But you can, again, guys, you can park the interruption for a bunch of time. 10, 15, 20 minutes. They could wait. They will get the answers themselves. Call hierarchy. Yeah, call hierarchy is one thing, yes, but there was a visual plugin. Call hierarchy, I know. It's this, shows who calls this method. Visually pleasing, but there was a better one. Search online, there is a plugin. All right, more ideas, thoughts, questions, stories of your own? If not, we're out of time. So we're gonna park the discussion here, and we're gonna pick up from team organization. We're gonna talk about platform team next time. Next time. Architecture biases, I'm developing something new for that as well. Okay, so thank you very much. And someone asked, how do I grow better? Talk, explain. Don't let any opportunity of you explaining something to someone pass by. That's how I started. All right? Someone new to the team asks something, you are there answering. Doesn't matter. Good. I wish you all the energy needed to fulfill these dreams, and I wish you a wonderful evening. See you next time with architecture laws. Let's talk about that. All right, good. Have a great evening, guys. Good. Bye. Can I do this? Let's see. Confetti? Balloons. Balloons. Goodbye, guys. Oh, I'm ending it in the Zoom. Possible.